What's up, dear YouTube viewers? The World Cup in the United States, Canada, and Mexico has already started. But many more games are still left to be played, and a lot of interesting players could still contribute to the success of their teams. So today I decided to go over one player that I am excited to watch from every World Cup team. One of my subscribers, who is also my longtime friend, suggested me to make the video of players that I'm excited to watch at. And I decided to go a little further than that and pick one player from every country. Some of those players are really hyped up and are obvious choices. Other of those players are not really the main players of their team and are less obvious choices, but are interesting for me to watch for different reasons. So today I will go over one player from every country that I'm interested to watch, as well as some honorable mentions. Okay, let's start with Mexico. And the one player that I'm interested to watch in Mexico is Santiago Jimenez. He hasn't had the best season at AC Milan, and right now people are talking about selling him and that he doesn't deserve a call-up to another top club. The World Cup could be his last chance to prove the opposite and to either stay at AC Milan or transfer to another top club in Europe. Unfortunately for him, Javier Aguirre made the choice not to start him in the first game against South Africa, and Mexico still comfortably won 2-0. However, Mexico's next opponent will be much higher rated than South Africa according to Transfermarkt and their recent results. So maybe Aguirre will utilize Jimenez in those two matches. And it will be interesting to see how he will perform. Okay, for Czechia, I got Pavel Schulz. Pavel Schulz just transferred from Slavia Prague to AC Lyon last summer and is already showing some very good results. He was one of the reasons why AC Lyon didn't perform so badly regardless of financial problems on the leadership of the team. And it will be very interesting to see what he can show off at the World Cup. Who knows, maybe he will even transfer to a top club after this World Cup if he shows some good results. Okay, for South Africa, it's a very obvious choice, but I have gone for Owen Williams. He won the Yashin Award last time for his very good saves, and at this World Cup he has already made 2 saves in a match against Mexico, even though his team lost that match. It will be interesting to see what he can do in the other 2 games, and will that change anything for him in his club career. Okay, I forgot to mention South Korea. I got Hwan Hee-chan. His side Wolves got relegated to the championship from the English Premier League. And obviously not many players like to play in the championship. So he would probably want to earn himself a transfer to a European club that is actually in the top division of their country. So it will be interesting to see what he can show at this World Cup and to see if this will earn him a transfer to a top club in Europe. Okay, now for sure, moving on to Group B. For Bosnia and Herzegovina, I pick Emerdin Demirovic. His stats at Stuttgart were not crazy, but he still scored some reliable goals. And he was one of the reasons why Stuttgart stays on top in the Bundesliga. regardless of regularly letting go of other top players. For Bosnia, he will be a non-substitutable player who will probably start in every game unless he is injured badly. So it will be interesting to see what he can show. Unfortunately, in the first game against Canada, there were rumors of him being injured. I don't know how serious the injury is, but I hope it's not serious and he will be able to score some goals for Bosnia. Okay, for Canada, I have gotten this Tejan Buchanan. Tejan Buchanan transferred to Inter Milan once, but hasn't showed the best. And now he is at Villarreal on loan. And he was one of the reasons why they qualified for Champions League. So it will be interesting to see what he can show off as a Canada player and what will that lead to. Potentially he could be one of the players to earn himself a transfer to a top club in Europe. As I told you before in my past video, one of the questions I have for this World Cup is which player will earn himself a transfer to a top club in Europe after this World Cup. And Tejan Buchanan could be this candidate. Okay, for Qatar, it's an obvious choice. I gone with Akram Afif. He is Qatar's best all-time goal scorer and was one of the reasons why they won 2 Asian Cups. Unfortunately, Qatar is in a tough group where all of their opponents look better than them, at least on paper. Yes, they sensationally gotten 1 point against Switzerland the last game, but that still doesn't guarantee anything. Because all other teams have the same point. So, for now, we just have to see if Qatar could do anything greater than that. But if they are able to, Akram Afif is their main hope. Okay, for Switzerland, I decided not to go with some hype-up players such as Xhaka or Freuler and instead go with Johan Mamzabi. He is a young Bundesliga prospect and many people are talking about him going to a top club in Europe, at least inside of Bundesliga. It will be interesting to see what he can show for Switzerland and will he be one of those players to earn himself a transfer to a top club in Europe. Which would be the answer to a question that I asked before about my top 10 questions ahead of the World Cup. For Brazil, I gone with Igor Thiago. Yes, there are many hyped up players such as Endrick or Vinicius, but for me the interesting person is Igor Thiago because he has shown some very good statistics at Brentford and scored many goals, but the problem is that a lot of players score many goals in the Brentford shirt, but when they go to another club, their statistics suddenly fades. For example, we can remember Jonas Visa and other players. So it will be interesting to see, is Igor Thiago just so effective just at Brentford or is he truly a top striker? If he can show off some good games, he might be the player to earn himself a transfer to a top club. If not, he would probably stay at Brentford, maybe for a couple more seasons. For Haiti, I gone with Lukasis Detson, who is a player of FC Dallas. For me specifically, he is an interesting player to watch because I support FC Dallas and I'm from close to the Dallas area. So for me, it's always interesting to see how an FC Dallas player would perform at the World Cup. I think Haiti might start him in a lot of games because they don't have that much choice, and it will be interesting to see what he can do. For Morocco, I gone with Bilal El Hanous. Yes, many people are talking about players such as Ashraf Hakimi or Nasser Mazraoui or Ismail Bonni, Ismail Sabari, but I decided to look at Bilal El Hanous because he has been one of the most important players at Leicester, and once he got to Stuttgart, he scored some goals for Stuttgart, even if not being their main player. So I would be really interested to see what he can show for Morocco, especially with the coach deciding not to take some other players such as Youssef El Nasiri. For Scotland, I gone with Tyler Fletcher. Fletcher wasn't supposed to go to this World Cup at all and only went because Billy Gilmour was injured. However, it's still interesting to see what he can show for Manchester United. For the Scotland national football team. I think most games he will be at the bench, but maybe one game the manager will trust him once. And if he scores even one goal, this World Cup could already be a success for him, and potentially it could lead to Manchester United manager Michael Carrick trusting him more next season. For Australia, I gone with Jordan Boss. Jordan Boss is a key player at Feyenoord, and we have all seen how many players from Feyenoord have gone to other top clubs in Europe, such as, for example, David Hansko and Santiago Jimenez. So it will be interesting to see will Boss follow the same road. For Paraguay, I gone with Julio Enciso. Yes, very obvious choice, but it's still interesting to see what he can do. Because he will probably go to Chelsea soon, and in order to prove to the new Chelsea manager Xabi Alonso that he deserves the call-up, he must prove that he can do something for the Paraguayan national football team. Now, as an honorable mention, I do want to add some players from the Russian Premier League, such as Jesus Medina, because I have relatives in Russia, and I've been watching the Russian Premier League to see what's going on. It will be interesting to see if Jesus Medina can do something in the Paraguay short and earn himself a transfer to a top club. In the first game against the USA, neither of them were able to do much, but we will have to see if that changes in the next game. For Turkey, I have gone with Ferdi Kadioglu. Yes, many people are talking about Arda Güler or Kenan Yildiz, but they are already in top clubs across Europe. Güler in Real Madrid and Yildiz in Juventus, which isn't the best club in Europe right now, but still a top club by Italian standards. When Ferdi Kadioglu still plays at Brighton, and many players from Brighton have gone to other clubs for record fee. For instance, we remember Moises Caicedo, Alexis McAllister, Jovis Bissouma, Ben White, or Leandro Trossard. And something interesting is that Alexis McAllister has actually gone to a top club in Europe, Liverpool, right after the World Cup. So it will be interesting to see will Kadioglu be able to repeat the same fate and be Brighton's next record sale. Okay, for USA, I have gone with Anthony Robinson. Now there were many talks about top clubs in Europe being interested in him. For example, Liverpool. But Liverpool has gone with Milos Kerkez instead. And right now Robinson is still staying at Fulham. Many people are arguing that he has outgrown that club and that he deserves a raise. It's hard to say which club he will end up in, but I think if he performs good for the USA national football team at this World Cup, he might go to a top club in Europe. Okay, now we are moving on to Group E. For Curacao, I have gone with Tijing Chong. Now, yes, it's an obvious choice, but I think it will be interesting to see what he can do. He is the main hope, and all the goals will be passed to him. So it will be interesting to see. Oh, sorry. Every time the Curacao national football team will try to give the ball to him. So it will be interesting to see what he can do against top defenders in Europe, such as Osman, or top defenders in his group, such as Osman Diomande from Ivory Coast, William Pacho and Pierre Nkapie from Ecuador, or Nika Schlotterbeck from Germany. Okay, for Ivory Coast, I gone with Usman Diomande. Yes, I know, I'm mentioning him in a short video in a row. I am his personal agent. Haha, just kidding. People are saying I need to practice my humor, so that was my attempt to be a little humorous. But no, I'm not really his personal agent. I really wanna see what he can show off for Ivory Coast at this World Cup, and if he will be able to show off some results, and as a result go to a top club in Europe. For Ecuador, I have gone with Joel Ordienes from Bruges. Yes, this time I'm picking a player who isn't as hyped up, and I'm going with an unobvious choice compared to Pacho or Nkapie, but both Pacho and Nkapie are already in top clubs across Europe, and Olario is not yet in the top club, so I want to see if this would change after the World Cup. In the past, there were reports of Liverpool being interested in him. Okay, for Germany, I gone with Alexander Pavlovich. For me, it's very interesting to see what he can show off, because he has been a young talent for the past year. At Bayern, he wasn't the main option, although still had some good games when he didn't play, or when he got the chance to play. It will be interesting to see who will Julian Nagelsmann utilize to start together with Angelo Stiller. If Nagelsmann does utilize Pavlovich, it will be interesting to see if he can do anything. Okay, now we are moving on to Group F. For Japan, I gone with Ayase Ueda. Japan has gone through some injury crisis because two of their key players, Takumi Minamino and Kaoru Mitoma, are injured, unfortunately, and Wataru Endo has recovered, although we don't know what form he will be in. So Japan will really need to utilize the full potential of their squad. And Ayase Ueda has played a key role in Japan qualifying for this World Cup, and also a key role in his club Feyenoord. So I'm interested to see, will he be able to score any goals in this group, and if so, will he follow the path of Hansko and Jimenez and transfer to a different club from Feyenoord? For Netherlands, I gone with John Paul van Hekken. Now, as I told you in my speech about Kadioglu, many Brighton players have transferred to top clubs in Europe for record fees. And who knows, maybe Van Hecke can be the next person. Even now, clubs such as Liverpool and Tottenham are interested in him. And after the World Cup, if he shows at least one remarkable highlight, the interest could skyrocket even more, and Brighton could ask up to 100 million for him, and even greater, because we know that they don't let go of their most important players for all fees. So it will be interesting to see where he will end up. Liverpool really wants him because Van Dijk is getting old, and they might want to replace one Dutch defender with another. But also there have been rumors about Tottenham and other clubs, so we will just have to see what happened. Okay, for Tunisia, I'm picking Rani Khedira. Now this one was a really interesting story. Rani Khedira was actually born in Germany and was the brother of Sami Khedira, the 2014 World Cup champion. But he is unable to make it to the Germany national football team, and Tunisia have repeatedly contacted him, and he repeatedly turned down all calls. But now he finally accepted it. Now some people might be unhappy because when a player turns down your offer, some people just walk away from them. I mean, come on. Many countries would just say, we are a proud country, why should we beg players to play for us? But Tunisian Federation chose to continue to offer him a place even when he turned down many times. And I'm interested to see if that will pay off, and if Rani Khedira will actually be able to do anything at this World Cup. Now, I'm not taking a side in this. I'm not saying this was right or wrong. I'm just saying this was the Tunisian National Federation choice. And we'll just have to see if it paid off based on how Khedira performs at the World Cup. Okay, for Sweden, I decided to pick Herman Johnson. It's for the same reason. I'm from an area close to Dallas and I support FC Dallas, and he is an FC Dallas player. So it will be interesting to see what he can show off at this World Cup. He wasn't actually supposed to go there, but due to Emil Holm injury, the manager changed his mind. So I'm wondering if he can show off some results. Although I think most times he will be at the bench. If he maybe starts in at least one match, that would be cool for me to see. Okay, for Belgium, I'm going with an obvious choice. It's Jeremy Doku. Belgians are hoping on Doku a lot, because many of the players from the golden generation are already getting old, and unfortunately the new generation is not as talented. But Doku is one of the few players who is actually very talented. He was one of the reasons why Man City continued to compete with Arsenal for the EPL title and only flopped at the last moment. Without him, it probably could have happened even earlier. So now, it will be interesting to see if he can help Belgium national football team the same way as he helped Manchester City. A lot of people will be hoping for him. For Egypt, I have gone with the young teenager Hamza Aberkim. Now I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but I don't. It's a teenager who Barcelona has chose to sign last summer. and the Egyptian national football team coach Hassan Hassan preferred him over an experienced player from Nan, Mustafa Mohamed, who helped Egypt qualify for the World Cup. It will be interesting to see if this decision will pay off and if he will become the new Mohamed Salah for Egypt, because for Salah it clearly will be time to retire soon. Okay, for Iran, I have gone with the last hype-up player. I picked Mohamed Mohebi. Like I told you before, I follow the Russian Premier League, and Mohamed Mohebi is one of the representatives of the Russian Premier League at this World Cup. Now, Iran's squad, with full respect to them, is not very deep. So, Mohebi will be one of the players who they will hope for at this tournament. And I think if he scores at least one goal at this World Cup, he could potentially earn himself a transfer. Maybe inside of the Russian Premier League from Rostov FC to a truly top club in Russia like Zenit St. Petersburg or Spartak Moscow or Lokomotiv Moscow. Or maybe even a top club in Europe. Well, not a top club, but maybe like a decent club. Just for example, Porto, or maybe a club in the middle table of the English Premier League. We'll just have to see what happened. For New Zealand, I gone with Ben Ode. Ben Ode is playing at Saint-Étienne right now, who are in the second tier of the French league. And if he scores some goals for New Zealand, he could potentially earn himself a transfer to a club that performs higher than that. So I'm interested to see if that will happen. For Cape Verde, I gone with Kevin Pina. Again, not an obvious choice. Many people are talking about Logan Costas, but I gone with Pina because I followed the Russian Premier League and I want to see if he can do something for the Cape Verde national football team, and if yes, will he transfer to another club from Krasnodar. For Saudi Arabia, I have gone with Abdul Hamid. He is the first Saudi Arabian player in many decades to play for a club in Europe. And he was one of the reasons why Lance's campaign was successful this season. It will be interesting to see if he can translate those numbers for the Saudi Arabian national football team. Unfortunately, I still don't think Saudi Arabia is making it out of the group stage, but maybe Abdul Hamid personally could get the media to speak about him. For Uruguay, I gone with Federico Valverde. Now he has a motivation to perform good at this tournament, because his behavior in Real Madrid on the field was decent. He scored 3 goals against Manchester City, but his behavior outside of the field was absolutely bad in the opinion of many fans. He was one of the reasons why Xabi Alonso got sacked, and he had a fight with Aurelien Tchouameni. So right now, the new Real Madrid coach Jose Mourinho reportedly wants to sell him. And it will be his chance to either prove to Mourinho not to sell him, or prove to another top club in Europe that he deserves a call-up to a top club. Uruguay will be hoping a lot on him, so it will be interesting to see if he can prove to Jose Mourinho that he is necessary for that squad, if he can prove to another club that he deserves to play for them. For Spain, I have gone with Alejandro Grimaldo. Many people had me up Lamine Yamal or Nico Williams, but I'm personally interested to see what Grimaldo can do. He has shown up good statistics in both of his seasons for Bayer Leverkusen, and I think he deserves to go to a club that could fight for a Champions League win. This World Cup could be his chance. Although I don't know if De La Fuente will choose to start him because in the past De La Fuente has been trusting Cucurella more. For France, I decided to pick an obvious choice. It's Michael Olise. Michael Olise has had a very good season at Bayern, but unfortunately for him, Bayern didn't win the Champions League. And without that, getting the Ballon d'Or will not be easy for him. So if France wins the World Cup, this could be his only chance to get the Ballon d'Or. I'm interested to see if he will try to show off anything for France. However, unfortunately, there is not even a guarantee that he will start in France's World Cup games because France have Mbappe and Dembele and Doué. So I don't know if Deschamps will trust him, but I'm hopeful that he will trust in at least some games. For Norway, I have gone with Oscar Bob. Yes, many people are talking about Erling Haaland or Martin Odegaard, but I decided to pick Bob because he has had some good highlights for Manchester City, and now he's sold to Fulham. So it will be interesting to see if he can show something for Norway at the World Cup, and that way maybe go to another club in Europe that has more perspective of winning trophies than Fulham. For Senegal, I have gone with Ibrahim Baye. Ibrahim Baye has had some highlights for PSG, even if not being their main option as striker. And many people are saying he is the hope of the Senegalese national football team and the new Mane. He was one of the reasons why they won the AFCON last year. Not last year, at the beginning of this year. At least on the field. And I'm curious to see if at the World Cup he can show the same statistics. For Iraq, I gone with Zidane Iqbal. No, not the son of Zinedine Zidane. It's a different player. He plays for Utrecht in the Netherlands, and he is one of Iraq's best players. It will be hard for him to show off against very tough opponents, but it will be interesting to see if he can do anything. For Argentina, I have gone with Nico Paz. Nico Paz has deserved a raise from coma. Right now, people are talking about him returning to Real Madrid, but their midfield is stuck with players like Güler and Bellingham. So it will be interesting to see if he can show anything in this World Cup and either prove to Mourinho that he deserves a transfer to Real Madrid or maybe go to another top club in Europe. For Algeria, I picked Ibrahim Maza. Maza had a very good season at Hertha Berlin, and then when he transferred to Bayer Leverkusen, he still had some reliable highlights, even if not having as good of a season as he did at Hertha. The Algerian national football team has returned to the World Cup after many years of absence, so I'm interested to see what he can do. For Austria, I have gone with Paul Warner. At Bayern, he showed some good highlights, but unfortunately, their team was stacked and he couldn't start in every game. So he went to PSV to get more playing time. He has also switched from Germany to Austria because the German national team is stacked, and Austria will be hoping for him. I'm curious if he can show some good stats for Austria and maybe earn himself a transfer to a club that has chances to win Champions League. I'm also interested to watch specifically him because, as I said before, one of the key questions I have for this World Cup is, will naturalized players show off some good results, and will the naturalization become a new massive phenomenon? So that's why I'm interested to see him. For Jordan, I'm once again going with an obvious pick. It's Musa Al Tamari. Musa Al Tamari has had a decent season at Trent, and he is one of Jordan's main hopes to achieve anything in this group. It will be interesting to see if Al Tamari can score many goals and maybe go to a top club in Europe. However, the downside to this is that Al Tamari is becoming a dictator in his team, just like Kylian Mbappe is in France. In one game, what happened is that the coach of the Jordan national football team told we need to defend, and Al Tamari convinced players not to follow his orders, and as a result, Jordan conceded a goal. It wasn't the most dirtiest story, or it wasn't the most cleanest story, and it was kind of not good for Tamari's reputation. It will be interesting to see if he can redeem himself at this World Cup. For Portugal, I decided to pick Vitinha. Once again, an obvious choice, but I really want to see if he can show the same talent that he showed for PSG at the Portugal national football team. If Portugal wins the World Cup and Vitinha scores at least a couple of goals, I think he could absolutely get the Ballon d'Or. So it will be interesting to see if he can actually do it. For Colombia, I gone with Luis Suarez. No, not the Uruguayan one, the Colombian one. They have their own one. So he scored many goals at Sporting, and one of the reasons why they did good in the Champions League. So I'm interested to see if he can show off some good results for Colombia and earn himself a transfer to a top club in Europe. For Uzbekistan, I pick an obvious choice. It's Abdulkadir Husanov. Man City has changed their coach, and now it's Enzo Maresca. So Husanov will need to prove to Maresco that he deserves to start in most games, and this will be his chance. The Uzbekistan fans are hoping for him. Also, an honorable mention is Faizullayev, who now plays for Istanbul Başakşehir, but I think with his talent he deserves to play for a club in top 5 leagues. So it will be interesting to see if he can get it right now. For Democratic Republic of Congo, I have gotten with the Spartak Moscow player Theo Bakamba. Like I said before, I follow the Russian Premier League, so I want to see if he can show anything in the Congolese national football team. Okay, now we are on to the final group. For England, I have decided to go with Marcus Rashford. Unfortunately, as of right now, it doesn't seem like Barcelona is interested in buying Rashford, and he doesn't want to go back to Man United, where it's clear that he hasn't had a good season for most times. So he now has the motivation to play for England at his fullest potential. to prove to top clubs in Europe that he deserves a call-up. And that's what I'm interested to see. For Croatia, I have picked Luka Vuskovic. He has shown up some insane statistics at Hamburg. And now he is expected to return to Tottenham. And his goal at this World Cup is to prove to the Zerbi that he deserves a chance. So it's interesting to see if he can do it and if he can help Croatia win the World Cup. For Panama, for Ghana, I picked an obvious choice, Antoine Semenyo. Unfortunately, the Ghanaians are not in the best situation right now in terms of their players because Thomas Partey is not granted a visa to Canada due to accusation of sexual harassment, so he will miss the first game against Panama. Another key star player, Mohamed Kudus, is injured, so they need to utilize the full potential of players that they have, and Antoine Semenyo is one of their only hopes. For Panama, I have gone with Edgardo Farina. He plays for the Russian Premier League for a club called Nizhny Novgorod, and it will be interesting to see if after this World Cup he can earn himself a transfer to at least a top club in Russia, such as Zenit or Spartak, or maybe even a club in Europe's top 5 leagues. So there you have it, guys. If you like this video, give me a thumb up. If you dislike it, give me a thumb down. Subscribe to this channel and leave comments. I hope you have a good day. Bye, guys.